Enclave, 5-Star Breeze Studios. What a fucking game that is. And I don't mean it as in a negative connotation. I really do mean it's a freaking good fucking game. Yeah, 2 programmers and 3 developers. First 2 programmers are Eric Aflassen and Magnus Hogdahl. I think I'm saying that right. I'm not really sure, but I just want to say that Magnus, name like that, shit's gonna be fucking good. Third developer credited with working on this masterpiece is Jens Anderson, game designer and programmer, and one of the founding members of Starbreeze in '98. So originally released in 2002 July, which is, to be honest, I was still in grade school. And with that being said, I just want to make sure that everybody knows I'm in my 30s at this point, so if I'm reviewing something that's 20-something years old, probably should take some looking at it because it's had a prolific impact on the way that I look at things. Now, with that being said, there have been several re-releases, most notably again in June of 2023, 21 years after release. Platforms include, but not limited to, Xbox, Windows, Wii, Linux, Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. So in 2003, Starbreeze had announced that Enclave 2 had been in development for Xbox and PlayStation 2, as well as Windows. The game got cancelled for legal issues with Swing, that's with an apostrophe, Entertainment. God, that's a hell of a business name. Now, with all of that legal jargon aside, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the reason why I've been doing this review. It's not because it's something that stands out, it's not because it's something that's, like, super stellar and great, and it deserves many, many awards. It is a product of its own time, and that's very evident whenever you do load it up. Now, all those things aside, there are multiple character classes you can play as, and you will slowly learn and acquire them throughout your playthroughs. What is interesting to keep note is there is multiple character classes. There's Knight, a Huntress, a Wizard, a Druid, an Engineer, and a Halfling, and that's just for the Light campaign. Thought that there was only one campaign? That's not true. It is a Dark campaign with Berserker, Assassin, Sorceress Lich, Bombardier, and a Goblin. Now, you might be thinking, why would I bring this up to anybody's attention? Well, it kind of dawns on me that most of the AAA industry likes to take shortcuts. And something that I see routinely is a lot of companies that are small, they don't take shortcuts because they know that the customer, the gamer, is going to be looking at these things. Now, with all of that being said, there is something that needs to be said about the elephant in the room, which is most AAA companies don't want to put the effort into doing the things that smaller companies or smaller groups of people are willing to do. The biggest case in point, mid-90s Monolith, or even 3D Realms. Now, I'm not talking about Duke Nukem, the 3D Realms. We're not touching that. I mean, as much as I love the Duke, I'm not giving that credit to that point right there. In my honest opinion, they did Duke really dirty, but we're not getting into that. So, now we get to this point. You might be thinking, why Enclave? Why is this the game that you decided to do a full video on? Well, I'd rather just show it to you. The graphics are of the early 2000s. They're really great for what the game engine gives, and there's a lot of things that are possible with it. So the game engine they use is the Starbreeze game engine. It's developed in-house. What it's based on, I have no clue, but if I had my guesses, it would be something reminiscent between. Somewhere between Unreal 2 and Unreal 3. I'd probably say, like, my guesstimate is, like, Unreal 2.5. But, I mean, those are things to gloss over, and I'm sure that I'll get told later in the video. But, as it stands, it looks pretty good. It looks really nice, even for its age. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of the actual gameplay and the story. So, what are we doing here? Well, it's quite simple, actually. What we're doing is we're going in and we're killing the enemy that's attacking the castle. And you start off as a warrior with basically nothing, you're destitute. And these things are fine because what it shows you is it shows that you are slowly learning the process, you're going through, you're looking, at everything, you're looking at every nook and cranny, trying to find any piece of gold you can. And eventually you will meet a huntress who has very little, like you, and says that we need to repel the invaders. And eventually you do. And then it goes from there to a little bit of a twisting corridor. So what you'll end up doing is you'll end up escorting a guy named Marcus. He's a merchant, and he's rather pudgy at that. That's fine, just like everybody else, he has a use, and we're gonna use him efficiently. Now on this point, it's gonna show you other mechanics, like ranged combat. And you can go through it as a warrior, you'll be doing just fine, but I also want you to use a ranged character, so that way you can get a feel for it. And by the end of it, you'll have to be defending Marcus yet again, as you escort him throughout the town. You get to the end, and it brings us to our next stop. The Deserted Temple. Now, there's a lot of things inside of this game that are really pretty and really great. The water effects are really good for the time. But never mind that, we have stuff to do. So, we're gonna go through this Deserted Temple, we're gonna go free a druid, and then hopefully we get whatever it is that Marcus needs. Which eventually, by the end of it, will bring the druid back to where Marcus is at, and whenever we leave the level, and that'll bring us to the Divided City. Now, up until this point, you'll have very little interaction to magic users, but this level in particular is really hairy for first-time players because they don't know what to expect. And clearly, they're a fucking pain in the ass. I'm sure the developers didn't want you to have to take a look. You know, the harbor arc of Maru, whenever you get to that point, it's pretty awesome. Like, there's a lot of brush work, there's a lot of water work, there's a lot of interesting little crannies that you can see, and from the first time playing it, you're gonna be like, wow, this is awesome. But again, don't let that fool you. You are here to do a job and get it done. And by that point, we're gonna be on to the ancestors of Mechalon. Now, Mechalon is a little bit different, it's a little bit open-ended. As I understand, it's not like level 4, but it is highly rewarding. By the time you get to the point where you need to see everything that there is to see inside of Mechalon, you'll be ready for it. That's okay, because next we're stepping into Sanctuary. This level has a lot of water work on it, it has a lot of water thematic work with it, and it does have some of the more interesting enemies in it. And by this time, I'm sure that you'll understand that enemies are getting more armored and they're getting more aggressive. These are all things that are understandable. So now we get to the underworld. Well, why are we at the underworld? Well, because we have to go acquire things and stuff, and also have to go after Zorana. What does Zorana bring? Well, she brings a lot of things, but mostly magical components. And you might be mistaken to think that these are easy levels if you're playing on an Xbox controller back in the day. Xbox, it might be a little bit different. Yeah, whenever you're done with Zorana, now we get to Kamzara High Pass, and it's at this point in the game that you start looking at everything and being like, man, there's a lot of really big, nasty stuff out here. Maybe I should be a little bit more reserved with my healing. And you may be right. You may be tempted to be like, I'm just going to pull back a little bit, and I'm going to be a little bit more conservative. And that's okay. But you can't do it the whole time, because at that point, you're going to start dealing with multiple magic users. Well, magic users, regardless what their package is. So we're going to move on from that, dispatch them like any other business, and then do all of the objectives of Kamzara High Pass. A little editorial note, Kamzara High Pass reminds me of some of the more interesting locations inside of the Lord of the Rings. And it's pretty great, honestly. So then we get to Descendra. Now Descendra is pretty freaking awesome as a level. It starts off being in a volcano, kind of like Kamzara High Pass, eventually will turn into more being intricate and being inside of a building. They're going to use traps against you, they're going to use your expectations against you, so that way you fall for more traps. But we're not here for that, we're here to fight Verdessa, we're here to fight and make make sure that your Syndra gets returned to where she needs to be. On an off note, if you didn't pay attention to Syndra at the very beginning, it's okay, I didn't either. I just thought that we were just killing stuff to kill stuff, so, I mean, I'm right there with you. And last but not least, we finally get to Vitar. Now, Vitar is kind of an interesting boss. He has decent mechanics, nothing too crazy over the top. But once you get done with that, that finally unlocks the Dark Campaign. And that's good, because Vitar's a little bitch, needs to have his ass kicked. Inconveniencing my damn time off the range to have to go kill his ass. Come on now. Alright, so that's the end of the video. And if you like the video content and want to see more of it, hit that subscribe button. Lets me know that you guys actually want more. And if not, well, this is the first of many videos that are going to be coming. So stay tuned, and soon, second video on the Evil Campaign.